Support for Donnybrook is provided in part by Design Air Heating and Cooling.
Seems fair to me.
Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it unacceptable by any reason.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.
Wow, do we have a lot of topics to discuss on this week's Donnybrook. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we jump in, let's meet the panelists, including the media veteran herself, Wendy Wiese, who will be heading up the big benefit for the St. Louis Media History Foundation on the 13th in Olivet. Get your tickets, and she's going to be heading up that trivia night. Thanks a lot, Wendy, for doing that. Bill McClellan of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Also from the Post and STLtoday.com, Joe Holleman, and the birthday boy himself on September the 6th. Not quite yet. You still have time to get a letter into the mail.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Send a check. You still have time.
Alvin Reid, of course, from the American. We're going to kick things off with you because yesterday, Wednesday at noon, the special session for the General Assembly started in Jefferson City. Governor Kehoe, I guess at the behest of the White House, has asked that the legislators redraw the congressional districts. Right now, there are 6 Republican congressmen and 2 Democrats out of the state of Missouri. That's not enough. The governor and the president would like 7 Republicans and 1 Democrat. Of course, you never know what's going to happen. They're just going to redraw the districts to make that likely to happen. But they're also thinking about changing the methods needed to change the state constitution. Right now, you need a vote of the people, 50% plus 1 vote. They're thinking about having that requirement, plus it has to pass in all the congressional districts, all 8. Otherwise, there will be no change to the Constitution. What are you thinking, Alvin?
Well, I think going back to Friday, Friday, 4 o'clock, when the governor announced, headed out for Labor Day weekend, that he was introducing his Missouri First map, which he obviously didn't draw because this all came up about 2 weeks ago or whatever, and I'm sure he got a sharp pencil and sat down and did all that by himself. He just looked just ghastly in that video that he sent out because he doesn't, I won't say he doesn't want to do it, but it's at the behest of the president. Everybody's afraid of the president. And it's just, I think he just used up all his cachet in several communities throughout the state, and it's just sad. This is just a sad thing that's happening in Missouri and other places in the state right now. Now, as far as, the ballot initiatives, I think 60% is too high. Maybe 50% is, 50% plus 1 is too low. Maybe compromise, you get to 54, 55 or something like that. But in the meantime, one other thing, he withdrew the 5 nominees for the police board because he didn't want that to clutter up the important redistricting. So, the governor's just all over the place, but he's under the president's thumb, and he will be there as long as the president is in Washington.
But Governor Kehoe has said that all he will do is just resubmit the names for the police board, except for perhaps maybe 1.
My guess is that not all 5 will be resubmitted.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of the redistricting, it seems that first of all, it's 7 years ahead of.
It would be after the census, which would be in 2030.
Okay, but if you have to do this kind of thing, if you have to rig the outcome, then I think that makes everybody uncomfortable. And it doesn't matter whether it's the Republican Party or the Democratic Party or the Green Party or whatever party's in power.
And they're still probably going to. Chances are they're still going to lose the House anyway, because California and Illinois are poised to do whatever they need to do, and you might end up losing in the long run. And then Missouri might lose because you're going to create some districts now that will one day be in play again, and that it's just short-sighted. It's just.
Well, I agree. I think that this idea of rigging the process ahead of time. I think we should continue with rigging the process every 10 years, because that's all. What I don't like, though, what I don't like is the idea of people going, "Why there will be gerrymandering going on." there has been gerrymandering since George Washington had a position of power. I mean, so this idea that districts will be redrawn and Democrats will lose power, that's sort of what gerrymandering's about, and it's been done by both parties in all states for hundreds of years.
If you look, and Josh Renault, who is your colleague at the Post, put the before and after maps of what the current congressional districts look like and what the proposed ones look like. And actually, the proposed ones look more contiguous and compact and reasonable than the current alignment, which is, it's not holy whatsoever.
Well, I remember when our former colleague Ray Hartman ran for Congress, and Ray was showing me the map. And of course, it had been Ann Wagner and the Democrats in the legislature had worked out a way to make everything safer for Clay and safer for Wagner. And poor Ray, I mean, to try to wiggle the way through his district was...
it was like a little snake.
Well, and when you get into the gerrymandering thing, I mean, let's take our neighboring state of Illinois, for example. About 44% vote for Trump, Republican. So they have 3 of 18 congressional seats in Illinois. That's 17%. There has to be some gerrymandering going on.
Well, Missouri's the same way.
And there always has been. The only problem, so I can understand people say you shouldn't be doing this without the census. Do it every 10 years. What I don't like is this, how immoral and disgusting this is. It's basically what it is. It's immoral and disgusting not to do it at every 10 years.
I think
still the same.
Most of the caterwauling is about the fact that this is being done when it shouldn't be.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not, everybody knows as
if it's every 10 years.
And why is it being done?
So we're fine with ridiculous, politically motivated redrawing as long as we only do it every 10 years.
As long as you follow the rules, and it's every 10 years,
Why is it being done?
Not exactly the high horse, but
why is it being done?
Not
and
the
who is
moral
it being
high
done
ground.
for?
Right. Yeah, the moral high ground.
But the whole conversation might be moot because former Supreme Court Justice Mike Wolf, also the former dean of the law school at St. Louis University, I think a guy who's got his head on his shoulders is right most of the time. He says that it's clearly unconstitutional because in the state of Missouri, the Constitution says that you redistrict after the census. And so if, obviously some sort of lawsuit's going to be coming up. Maybe
or several.
For a variety of reasons.
Emmanuel,
All right, variety of
we'll
reasons.
See. Hey, Joe, I want to ask you about tornado damage in North St. Louis. Of course, we had a May 16th tornado. And in the past couple of weeks, there have been 2 stories in St. Louis Public Radio taking a look at the cleanup or what hasn't been cleaned up yet. Not a lot of data, but eyeballing the streets and looking at a lot of trees down, a lot of bricks on the ground. And people are saying, hey, come on, aren't we going too slowly? Today, the mayor announced that she's going to throw what, $12 million into more, $12 million more dollars in.
Right. You know, I mean, are we going too slowly? If you live in that area, absolutely you are. But this was a Category 1 tornado that did severe damage to a lot of old brick homes and old large trees. And the notion that a city that was struggling to pick up garbage and plow the streets would somehow get all of this debris wiped up without the help of the Corps of Engineers or some federal assistance, I just didn't see it happening. It's been 3 months. And sometimes you write stories because it's been 3 months. Let's look at this, And so you drive around and you go, well, this looks terrible. Okay, it probably does. It looks better than it did 2 months ago or 1 month ago. But yeah, there's a lot of work to do. And the idea that it was all going to get cleaned up in 90 days and nobody was going to notice anything.
I got 2 theories.
I think was overzealous.
Yeah, I agree. But that story by Andrea Henderson about a meeting in July where the organization asked for a dumpster, and the mayor said, we'll get on it. And it's now September, and they don't have their dumpster. I mean, I thought, I know that the city's overwhelmed with stuff. I got
a theory.
But the optics in terms of North St.
Well, it's just
Louis,
you ought to
those
be able
are
to get a
awful.
dumpster to people when you have a big meeting.
But here's the deal. You saw the story this week where the mayor, Kara Spencer, said that she's going to end the family and medical leave policy that too many city workers have been taking advantage of. Some departments have 20% of the staff out, and in fact, former Mayor Tashara Jones said it was her only regret when she was speaking to St. Louis Public Radio. She goes, you know what? too many employees took advantage of that. So they don't have employees there. And then the Associated General Contractors of Missouri came out with a report this week saying the reason construction projects are delayed in this area, the number one reason, it's not tariffs, it's a lack of labor.
But they've been saying that for a long time. AGC has been saying that since I was at RCGA. I'm
but
not
it's still
kidding.
the case.
Right.
We
That's
don't
still the
have
case.
workers. And another
Right.
story, it was reported that 1.2 million immigrants have already been booted out of this country. So who's going to be doing a lot of this work but the immigrants?
I just think that you basically, if you wanted to pay people to pick up bricks and help saw trees, I understand that some of these trees that are down, that takes professional equipment and people and all that. But I think if you make it an hourly wage of a high enough level, you will get people, and just take it a block at a time or a half block at a time. Until this block is completely cleared of debris, we're not leaving this block. And then we'll move on to the next one, and then we'll move on to the next one. I'm still waiting on the plan for doing this. That's what seems to be
But that's
missing.
that's what the 31-member Blue Ribbon Commission.
But I don't think that there aren't enough unemployed people looking for work.
Oh, I think that if
I don't
you,
think so.
Charlie, I think if you, let's just say, I'm paying $30 an hour for debris removal.
You think they'd come out of
I think people would all of a sudden get down there and do that. I really do.
Well, Bill's column this week suggests that to get workers in a worker shortage, we should be using union apprentices.
Well, I was saying that, unions built the city, and I think if you're going to try to rebuild a city, you have to get the unions on board. And that's where the apprentices came in. Right now, codes and regulations might have like a journeyman can only supervise one apprentice. And obviously, if we're going to try to rebuild the city with a WPA type program, you would need more apprentices. But, I base that partially on when I walk around Forest Park and I go past Post-Dispatch Lake. And there's a big plaque there that in the Panic of 1894, Joseph Pulitzer announced that we're going to build a lake, and anybody who wants to come out and earn a day's wage, bring your shovel, and 20,000 people showed up. And I know this is more complicated, but I think, something like the WPA would be worth a try.
I think it's an attractive idea.
Thank you, Joe.
I think there's a couple of problems with it.
It's a romantic idea.
Right, it is.
It's a romantic idea. It
One
really
is the WPA did public projects. Mm-hmm. We're talking about rebuilding people's private homes with what, tax money? Who owns that home then when they're done?
I said the Rams money, and I think you could get corporations to kick in and help this rebuilding of the city in the tornado zone, and if it works there, extend it. But I have to say,
but Rams money is our money too.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe it is a terrific idea. I mean, it was a depression, and it was FDR, and it was a totally different America. And now we can't get kids though to get fast food jobs. They don't want fast food jobs. So manual labor. I don't know that we have the same workforce that we did back then.
I think that's part of, somebody would have to map this out, where okay, for your amount of money that you're going to be paid, basically all you're going to do is saw tree limbs, pretty simple, or put bricks in a wheelbarrow and move them. We're not going to ask you to do any more than that, because that's what we need done right now.
Yeah.
And then by the time we get to wiring people's houses and all that, I think they would have decided we're not rebuilding this house whatsoever.
Well, I have to admit, I didn't get any calls from the mayor, from the union.
Well, let me tell you something.
Local 120 didn't call.
I'm going to tell you the big unreported story of this storm, and it really backs up Alvin's theory. On Aberdeen and Arundel in Clayton, which were hit by the tornado and trees were down, immediately that afternoon, people had come in from all over the state of Illinois and Missouri offering their help for $1,000 an hour. and they were getting it.
Yes,
Really?
and I understand
yeah.
because that was I heard that too.
$1,000 an
Yeah,
hour.
And
But
I
this
have
was a
people who will
crew?
corroborate my story.
Yeah.
But these were crews. This was not like
No, this
one-
was individuals. Now I don't know how many.
Well, they
had.
were professionals, like when it snows, who will shovel parking lots,
Right.
and they charge you a hefty penny. So these are people out making money, and they went to a neighborhood where they know there was money to be had, and they did.
It was
that
capitalism at its finest.
Well,
Right,
a friend of mine who lives on Arundel told me that there was a lot of damage to the roofs, and he said, 3-4 days after the tornado, he said it seemed like Cinco de Mayo. On the roofs were all these
that's
Mexican
right.
workers
Right,
and
right.
with the Mexican music playing. But I mean, those fellows weren't making $1,000.
Definitely.
Well,
I
but
think
and
they were.
they also weren't being paid by the
I
think
government.
so.
Well, the
yeah.
company probably was. But
They weren't being paid by the government.
they look like
they were being paid by people who own those homes
Right.
or through insurance. I think the sticking point with Bill's idea is that you're asking the government to turn over and pay these people to build private residences.
right.
Who owns that private residence then when
Well,
we're done?
The individual would be my plan.
Speaking of-
and I know there's problems with
But
my
the
idea.
taxpayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll work them out. Wendy, I want to ask you about, speaking of money, the federal government has said that states cannot provide in-state tuition or scholarships to undocumented workers, those who are here illegally. And to spite the president, or just because he believed in the principle, Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois signed a bill that said that, yes, Illinois will pay for scholarships as well as in-state tuition for undocumented students who want to go to Illinois colleges. Where do you stand on this one? With the federal government or with the rebellious governor of Illinois?
Well, I'm on the fence where I usually sit up on my perch, but no, I have a problem with this. I think there are a lot of students who don't quite, they can't quite eke out that GPA academically. They're a little bit, maybe challenged in that particular area, like many of us are. I mean, mathematics. Ooh. But I would rather see kids whose parents were born here. I mean, maybe just lower the expectations, lower the requirements, the academic requirements first. Give those kids a chance. Pay for VOTEC. Give them a break on VOTEC training. But I don't know. I just have a problem with
Well, I think that if you are a student in the public schools in Missouri, you should get in-state tuition at Missouri colleges, and the same in Illinois. I mean, I don't think that, I wouldn't be in favor of scholarships just for illegal aliens or anything, but I think that those kids who are living in the state, attending public schools, ought to be able to attend colleges as in-state residents.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I agree with you. But if you are here and you're undocumented and I guess could be asked to leave or told to leave at any time, I just feel as though if Illinois got scholarship money, I could find some Illinois residents that could use
The
the
scholarship.
How about
scholarship.
in-state residency?
Well, I mean, if you grew up here and you have a address and all that and get accepted to college, yes, I think you could pay in-state tuition while you're here. I mean, until you're, like I say, asked to leave, I guess.
Well, and I think that's the thing that the word illegal just seems to get glossed over here. You're not supposed to be here. Okay, so the idea, whose side am I on in this case? The federal government's. And I think it's a political spitting contest between Donald Trump and J.B. Pritzker is what it is. And he says, I'm not going to buckle to you, and I'm going to sign this. But I want to make sure that I know that every kid born and raised in Illinois or here legally immigrants who followed the process, I want to make sure they got their shot at a scholarship first. I want to see the paperwork.
I think there's an overriding.
We're talking about the so-called dreamers. These kids who came over here when they were children.
In good faith.
And it wasn't like they made the decision, I'm going to come over. Their families did, and they're living here, and they're working and going to high school.
Yeah, because
I think they ought to be treated like in-state residents.
Because, among other things, we need an educated populace. I mean, that's so
what we
important.
need, Charlie, is a populace that's supposed to be here.
Well, no, I
First
think
of all,
we need an educated
Charlie, are we
populace.
supposed to be the only country that doesn't enforce our borders? I'm just curious. Because if I go to Canada, I don't think I just start qualifying for stuff.
You sound like the Wampanoag Indians when they saw the English come on over.
So you're in favor of the people
Did they
who
get a
took-
permit from the Wampanoags to
So you're in
come
favor of the people who took the land from the Indians? Is that what you're
I admire the hard-working immigrants who are here, who are performing great services.
Well, I'll
for us.
tell you
That's why.
do.
And sign the
We
guest
all
book,
do.
Charlie.
We
Just
all
sign
do.
the guest book when you enter.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking.
Or well, actually, if there was a guest book,
Actually,
if you had
they don't
decided
have
so
that
I knew you were
opportunity.
here, then I could work with that.
Exactly.
I mean, I could work with that. I mean,
But this idea that it's
I would-
anti-immigrant is ridiculous.
It is anti-immigrant.
No, it's not.
Yes,
no,
it
it's
is.
not, Charlie.
Because,
no, it's
because
not.
Biden
No,
had
it's
a
not.
bill
Legal.
that would have legalized them, and they would have paid a fine, and it would have been all over.
Well,
And so they would have been
It is
legal.
not anti-immigrant to say people should be here legally. It is not. It's that simple.
well, like you said, that another 2-3 years, that bill will come back and that bill will pass. There's a
could.
lot of stuff going on right now that just it's going to change. But
Joe,
we
okay,
got
Joe,
to get
2
there.
more topics before we dismiss you.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't mean dismiss you.
I let you be on your way.
That's what he meant. That's what he meant.
Wait, great managers have been fired with that.
I thought
we're
we
just
were
going to let
supposed
you
to
go your way.
decide.
You're not fired.
Just one more inning
Order in
before
the
we let you
courts.
go.
Joe, there's a new law. You know, I guess the new law is going to effect late August in the state of Missouri. One of them is that the state will no longer seize the assets of the incarcerated. Maybe some of our viewers don't know that, but if you were spending time at the Gray Bar Motel, the Attorney General could claw your assets to pay for your 3 squares. And it seems to me they changed that law so the state's not going to do that anymore. But, you know, if we had a, God forbid, Jeffrey Epstein, rich guy who abused kids in our jails, I would want to claw back his assets, wouldn't you?
No. Because if you claw his assets back, then you can claw anybody's assets back. And so if somebody's in there and they have money, and so they go, and the state says you have to do 9 years or 12 years, and you do your time, and they say, okay, you can get out now, you're okay, and you come out, oh, but by the way, the $12,000 you had in account, we're taking that too. Now you've just quadrupled the chances of that person ending up back in jail. I mean, I don't think we ever should have been charging room and board for people that we said you have to go to this prison. They're just, I think it was wrong then, it's wrong now. And it sounds great to say, let's take a millionaire's money. What about a $500,000's money?
Well,
what about where do you draw the line?
There could be an income test.
So like a star chamber we could set up to where,
You know, Tony Messenger has done some really good columns about this. About like somebody gets a life insurance policy, their mother dies, and so they're in prison, and they got like, well, I got a $15,000 stake when I get out, and then the government comes along and says, no, you don't. We're taking that. You're getting out broke. It's not the right thing to do.
Right. And, you know, let's say I would say embezzler or whatever, but I'm fast and loose or just whatever. Okay, I get busted. If I have invested in my kid's scholarship because I knew that, hey, Dad's kind of out there.
Exactly.
Right. But you all could go to any college you want to because there's money put aside, invested, and it's yours. Forgive me, I did wrong. I'll see you in 5 years. But in the meantime, you go to college and they take that money away.
You're
that's
destroying
not right.
the family.
That's
and
not
what
right.
about the people who are falsely imprisoned? I mean, look at all of
Well, they
the
don't want to
folks-
give them they want money back from
They are
the
true losers.
on
But
the
I see
other
this.
hand-
I see this nothing different than a civil lawsuit where you did something wrong and the injured party is going to get money, and I see no
Well,
problem. with
you
that.
remember what was the name of that fellow who did the Ponzi scheme in New York?
Bernie
Madoff.
Madoff.
Bernie Madoff.
Now, like his wife ended up still living in their
Penthouse.
penthouse.
Yep.
And all the people who he stole money from look and say, how come she's living?
Or the
in
Thank you.
Sacklers.
No-
or the
no further
Sacklers,
questions.
Or the Sacklers and,
Yeah.
the opium. And,
Right.
But I
they
mean, if I
should've-
bought
they
a
should've-
house, let's say
okay.
I bought a house cash.
We're running out of
All right.
time.
You can't
What do you
take
guys
my
think? It's a
house.
3-hour program?
It should
Wendy,
be.
the Cardinals, Tuesday night, 17,000 paid, but I don't know how many showed up, something less than that. Do you think, I mean, we're living in a town that lost the Hawks, the football Cardinals, the NFL Rams, that if these numbers don't improve, there'll be an excuse for the ownership to take the team to Nashville.
I don't think that's going to happen. I just cannot imagine a world where the DeWitts would completely uproot, implode, turn the world of baseball, one of the most legendary franchises, on its head. I don't see that. I think they are capable of doing a lot of things.
They fired you during Christmas.
That is true. That's true. They did. But I don't think that I just don't think they will ever move the team.
The Cardinals' highest value is in the footprint it's in right now. They're not ever going to move any place because that's the highest value. All those other franchises, you said, football, Cardinals, Rams, all that, immediately like double, tripled in value by simply moving. The Cardinals would not do that.
3 years from now, we're in the playoffs, vying. We got good teams. We're back up to 40,000 people a night, and nobody's talking about this. It's just
from your mouth to God's ears.
But it's one of those ideas.
Sounds like Rams 2010.
17,000 people. Yeah. Miami would love to have 17,000 people at a ball game. They haven't moved yet.
I remember when there was not you. There was one of your colleagues at the Post-Dispatch said, "Oh man, Stan Kroenke will never move the team because his mom lives here."
Yeah, well,
so you're comparing the Cardinals franchise to Stan
Mr.
Kroenke's
Holleman, we're
mom.
out of time. Let's go to the old mailbag and see what people had to say about last week's program. My wife and I attended last Saturday's City Fest in O'Fallon, Illinois. I can assure you that there was an abundance of police on site. In the end, parents have to be held accountable for the actions of their wards. Thank you, Richard Humphrey of Shiloh. Marion Miller of St. Louis wrote, I agree with Sarah. We don't need another data center in town. They're loud and use a lot of resources. You can write us, care of 9PBS, St. Louis, Missouri, 63108. Don't forget those emails, donnybrook@9pbs.org. On social media, use hashtag DonnybrookSTL. Call the 9 line. We're looking forward to hearing from you at 314-512-9094. And make sure you listen to us wherever you are on your favorite podcast source. On the YouTube channel, we have the 9PBS program, Last Call. And this week, among other things, we're going to talk about why the St. Louis Police Foundation is no longer subsidizing the chief's salary. That's it for this week's program. Happy birthday on Saturday to you, Alvin Reid. Actually, my wife's birthday is tomorrow. I better get a gift tonight. That's it. We'll see you next week at this time. Oh, your daughter too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday. Oh, my gosh.
Thank goodness Walgreens is open.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.